Hello, Warriors. Dale Pinkert at TradeGATEHub.com, and we are sponsored and powered by TradeView Markets, an excellent broker that lets you trade everything in your imagination at very competitive spreads. Check them out, open a demo. So I decided to do a broadcast today, make up for the Labor Day holiday on Monday, and follow up on what was said on the videos by us on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I'll just run down the board, starting with the euro. On Tuesday, I talked about that the prior week we had an inside week, and the most bullish thing the market could do would be to take out last week's low, which it was doing on Tuesday when I was live on the air. We traded all the way down, I believe, to 98.60, and I had this little line drawn here. This was the low, and this is where we were, and this is where we are. So on a weekly basis, I believe that this is an important inflection point in the euro. And I said that if we took out last week's low and this last week's high, which we did, and there's still some time left, if it closed over 10079, you would have what's called a key reversal at 20-year lows. I believe it's significant. I believe it's going to lead to a rally back towards major resistance at 103.5. which was where we failed on this last drop here. And should we take out 103.5, I think 109 is viable, which is back to a major breakdown. So I think that we've had a major turn in the market. Talked about buying the euro. If you're not checking into our main chat room or main trading room, you're missing out, because I gave entries, and actually yesterday said buy it anywhere. So let's move on to cable. On Wednesday, when we were trading down at 114, I pointed out the glaring divergence at 114. The title of that video is that cable is not a short at 114, and gave you a little lesson in divergences. And we had a very nice rally, over 250 pip rally from that broadcast. And I think that we have put in a bottom in cable as well. The big question will be what's going to outperform. Are we going to continue to have outperformance in the euro over the pound? I've been pounding the table on euro pound for a while. There could be more left. There's nothing, it's done nothing wrong. There are targets up around 92. And that's still intact. The yen, I wasn't brave enough to call the top at 145, but that was a technical area at 145 that a lot of traders were looking for. And I said that would add jet fuel and to add to precious metal longs. And I'll get to the precious metals in a minute. Let's go to the dollar, which is something that I did point out when we were there. I was talking about all the major divergences we had, even on the daily time frame. The 4-hour was glaring for days, a 3 drive to a top formation at the fib extension of 1.272. And we have a reversal week in the dollar. I think it's significant. And at first, people are going to say it's a correction. Could turn out to be more. I talked about the euro being a very crowded trade on the short side, and the dollar being a very crowded trade on the long side. Also, when I talked about the euro, even before last week, and all the bears were coming out when we were under parity, it was my call that the next 500 pips in the euro would not be to the downside to bears targets of 95, but would be to the upside, which could take us back to this 103.5 resistance on the euro. So Dixie, I think another major inflection point that we had here. And now the Aussie, which is something that looks very good as well. A little double bottom there, double bottom in Aussie, and double top in Canada. Gold's giving up some of its gains here. I wouldn't say it was a trip to Hollywood, and the way it's closing doesn't look great, but my preference was the silver. And I talked about this very early in the week when we were about to make a breakout. I showed some lines in the silver right here. This line held early in the week, even posted this buy here. We didn't quite get to the line, but we have a breakout in silver outperforming. And one of the calls was that I believed that we were going to have a reversal in the gold silver ratio, and that it was struggling at the 50% retracement level. And even last week, I said one red candle, weekly red candle here would be the trigger for a turn in the gold silver ratio. So this favors silver over gold. And I do believe that I even talked about potential targets back down around 83, and under 83, we would have big acceleration. So that's in gear 2. Nice weekly reversal there. And then also talked about copper and how well it was holding up compared to the silver. And, you know, you have a nice little retracement here. Really haven't participated in it, but I'm paying attention to it for one reason. Dr. Copper is at times a very good indicator and precursor for risk. And when we were here on Tuesday, I've been showing this uptrend line, black uptrend line. I said I'd get bearish underneath this if we close. Now it's coming in around 38.60. In fact, on Tuesday, Patron in our main chat room was asking about buying it. And I said, wait one more day, because this week, Wednesday, was going to be turnaround Tuesday, because it did look like maybe we were going to make the move on Tuesday, but it happened from Wednesday, close enough to the trend line, close enough for government work. I'm still constructive on risk. I know a lot of people are thinking that there are so many bears. In fact, I looked at sentiment on the S&Ps, and there were only like 11% bulls on the DSI. So I would be buying any kind of breaks. It's my contention, unless, and I know where I'm wrong, because we just had a test under this black trend line under, say, 38.60, 70. You have to be out of longs, but while this is occurring, the nice reflex rally and a pretty nice week, nice reversal week, it's my contention that we're going to break above the 200-day moving average and really squeeze shorts. Once that happens, 4,500 would be a viable target after that. So looking at it short term, I think you have to buy pullbacks back down towards 39.5 should that happen and we get some type of sell-off. Maybe the reason might be rates. I'm looking at WTI also made a real nice move. So here's rates. They're trying to ameliorate a little bit, but they look like they could still blow one more time. This was something that I missed, but I wanted to recap the week because it does look like we have a major turn in the dollar, major turn in euro. Our work definitely alerted you to it. It's my hope that took it seriously. Precious metals, I also believe that it's an important week in silver. I talked about the divergence that we had on the weekly, and we needed a nice blue candle to maintain the integrity of this non-confirmation, and that's happening. Just to show you, finally, there are some miners that paid attention to what happened in the precious metals. Look at this week we had in BTG. It's a 2-week reversal. This is a gold stock. Big shakeout on a throwover, and I'd be buying breaks back to 320 on this. Even some of the silver shares look like they're on the verge of turning. Something I'd like to point out, which I felt, gave me conviction when silver was breaking down and making new low, First Majestic was not. So we put in higher lows in this, and we have nice turns here in both Endeavor and Fortuna. And something else, one last thing, because it's a little bit of a lesson. You don't see this a lot, but in BTG, if you go to an intraday chart, you have what's called an island bottom. So we gapped down, got everyone to liquidate, and then we gapped up. You could see it even a little clearer on the 2-hour. This is called an island bottom, and didn't have any mercy for people that decided to liquidate near the lows or people that were shorting the miners. Looks like we have a very important and significant low in this particular issue. Longer term, I think that the highs in March will be challenged and taken out. I hope that what we're doing here at TradeGATEHub is adding value to what you're attempting to accomplish as a trader. If you had windfall profits, don't get hubris or get sloppy and then rationalize it and say it's the house's money. The profits that are accrued are your money and my money, and protect it like it's your last 10 grand. So that's a wrap for me. I think that what we saw this week, that we're going to have continuation. Inflection points don't happen all the time. At least now you know where you're wrong. You're wrong under all the lows that we put in the S&Ps and the high in the dollar and the low in the euro and cable. So you have frame of references that you didn't have before this week, when we were just using divergences and probing and protecting on all of these positions. Hope everyone has a great weekend. For further updates on these moves that I've articulated that we provided to the public this week, tune in on Monday. In our chat room, if you're really an active trader, you have to check out Mike, because you may think I'm active, but compared to what Mike does on a daily basis, I'm molasses. So if you're interested in action on individual issues, Mike has multiple ideas every time he's here, every day. So he's going to be doing a broadcast in a little less than an hour and a half. So between Mike, myself, and we have some very good traders that have come into our community, that it would be a great idea for you to also participate and surround yourself with traders that you can learn from. So have a great weekend, everyone. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. I'm glad the heat wave is going to end here in California. The only problem is it's going to end with a hurricane blowing in from the Pacific, snow in Cabo, and that the rains help the firefighters out and also reduce the stress on the power grid, which will reduce the stress on me that I'm going to have to live through blackouts or brownouts when it's 100 degrees. So everyone have a great weekend. Football's back. I love college football. I don't bet on the games. I bet enough in the market every week. In fact, even when I go to Vegas, I really don't gamble. I like watching others take the heat. I take every day, but you could have had a great month this week with a few actionable ideas that were provided, and we do our best to repeat this kind of performance. It doesn't happen every week, but I'd say this week everything I talked about manifested. So glad to add value and serve the trading community. Check out TradeView Markets. It could be a great broker for you. You don't have to close an account to open another one. No law against having more than one account, and you really don't know what you have until you compare it to something else. Oh yeah, there is something going on. I mean, all the bears in Bitcoin, crypto's getting squeezed into the merge that we have coming up in Ethereum this week. So a pretty big move that might be turning the corner in Bitcoin for a little bit of a double bottom. I wouldn't be short here. If you want to be short, maybe you wait for the merge and you buy the rumor, sell the fact. That might be the next place to book profits, maybe up here around 2,400. But I've interviewed some people that have turned very bullish on Bitcoin, while the majority is bearish. And if the dollar has put in a major top, you're really going to be able to be long everything except maybe bonds. And even bonds, I wouldn't be short down here. So that's a wrap. That's something I talked about. If the dollar is really going to decline, it's positive for almost all asset classes on a nominal basis, and also could add jet fuel to things that are going up even when the dollar was firm, and that was a headwind. So now the dollar could become a tailwind with weakness about to unfold. So that's it. Have a great weekend. I've said it 3 times. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Tune in to Mike in an hour and 20 minutes, and we'll see you next week.